Okay, so in this tutorial we're going to take a look at SQL Server 2008 database mirroring. And for this lab we are using three servers. For the primary server called EXCHNU1 will be the primary database. The mirror server will be on EXCHNU2 and the witness server is installed on SQL Express 2008 on a server called OWA. It is important to know that for the witness server you don't need to have a full SQL Standard or Enterprise being installed. An Express edition can work just fine. So to begin, we first need to take a backup of our primary database, a backup of the database as well as logs, and restore that to the mirror database. The purpose of the witness server will function so as to provide automatic failover in the event that the primary server is down or offline. So let's go ahead and take the backup of the students database, which I have already created on EXCHNU1 or primary server. Right click on the database, go to tasks, and then select backup. So first we will back up the database. Select OK, and the database has been backed up. Next we restore this database backup to the secondary server or mirror server EXCHNU2. Right click on databases, then select restore database on EXCHNU2. Then I'm going to select the location of the backup file. And then give a name for the database which we will be restoring to. Select the database file to backup and restore. And under options, very importantly, we need to select the option where it says to restore with no recovery. And select OK. So our database has been restored. Interestingly, if you take a look at the students database, you will see that it is in the restoring mode, indicating that it is in the non-recovery mode. Next, what we need to do is to take a backup of the transaction logs of the primary database. So on the students, go to tasks on the primary database, select backup, but this time we're going to select for the backup type transaction log, and then select OK. We then restore the transaction logs on the database. Select Restore Transaction Log. Browse to the folder containing the backup file. And again, we select under Options the No Recovery mode. So now our database and transaction logs have been backed up and restored to the mirror server. Next, we go ahead and enable database mirroring on the students database. Go to Properties on the database and then select the Mirroring tab. Then select Configuration, Configure Security. In this case, we are using the witness server, which will provide automatic failover. So we are going to configure security to include a witness server instance. Select Yes and go Next. Then we're going to select the primary server, which is on EXCHNU1. Notice that it will be listening on connections on port 5022. So ensure that your firewall properly unblocks this port. Go Next. Then we select the mirror database, which will be on EXCHNU2, which also uses port 5022. And finally, the witness server, which is using SQL Express on the server called OWA. Click on Next. In this very important section of the wizard, we need to specify the service accounts that the SQL Server service uses. In my case, they all use the same account, so I'm going to leave this section blank. And then click on Finish. And then we are prompted to start the mirroring process. So I'm going to click on Start Mirroring. So mirroring has been started on the server. And we see that the databases have been fully synchronized. Notice that we can't directly edit or view this database because it is in a non-recovery mode. If you want to test failover, the automatic failover, we will need to shut down exhnu1 and verify that the student's database in exhnu2 becomes the primary database. Notice that the database on exhnu1 says principal synchronized. So I'm going to expand tables, and I'm going to enter a couple records into this table to verify that replication or database mirroring works. So I'm just going to enter another record here. And then shut down exhnu1. Within a few seconds, we notice that the student's database on exhnu2 has now become the principal database. If I expand the student's database and view the tables, we can verify that it is indeed synchronized with the database on exhnu1. And this is indicated by the row that we just added previously before the shutdown. So this test verifies that automatic failover using the witness server is working. Some important points to know if you are getting problems setting up database mirroring is to ensure that you backup and restore both the database and logs to the mirror server. Also ensure that the firewall is not blocking the mirroring port. And lastly, ensure that all SQL Server services and all primary, mirror, and witness servers are using the accounts that you have specified in the mirror creation wizard. We can also go ahead and test failback to exhnu1 by entering another record here into the student database and then shutting down exhnu2 so that exhnu1 becomes the database, the primary database. So I've just powered back up exhnu1 and notice that the student's database on that server says restoring, and the status of the student's database on exhnu2 now says principal synchronized, to indicate that both the mirror and primary database are synchronized, as you see in the status here. So now I'm going to initiate the shutdown of exhnu2 so that exhnu1 once again becomes the primary database. And so back on exhnu1, we see that the database has now become the primary since exhnu2 has shut down, and it also contains the record that we just added. So we verify that the synchronization works and that the automatic failover with the file with the witness server works. So this concludes the tutorial on the topic of database mirroring on SQL Server 2008.